have the tumors, and those tumors are divided into two. One side is the benign. Benign, we say they are local, they don't spread, they are easy to treat. You can do a surgery to remove the tumors. You can give radiation to actually shrink the tumor, and then you can give chemo to actually destroy the tumor. No problem. This other side, we have the malignancies, the malignant, which you call the cancers now. Okay, so we said all tumors are not cancers, but all malignancies are tumors. That's simple. So this side we have benign, this side we have the malignancies. When you hear the word malignancy, it means they spread. And when they are spreading, now we will have to divide them into two. One side of malignancy is those that actually prefer spreading through the lymph system or lymphatic system. The others like spreading through the blood system or the connective tissue. Blood is part of the connective tissue. So we have the connective tissue and we have the lymph, those two. Those that spread through the connective tissue are called sarcomas. Those that spread through the lymphatic system, we call them carcinomas. So when you hear hepatocarcinoma, it means this is a liver, because hepato is the liver. Carcinoma means this is a liver cancer that prefers spreading through the lymphatic system, the epithelial tissues. You now understand? So therefore, if I slap you with hepatocarcinoma, tell me, daktari, you just say liver cancer. I know already liver cancer spreads through the lymphatic system. So tell me it's liver cancer. I understand. That's a hepato, daktari. Hepato. At your bronchocarcinoma, please just tell me it is cancer of the lungs. I understand that cancer of the lungs spreads through the lymph. Don't put these words there to scare me, daktari. You want me to go straight to chemo? I understand, but you tell me, what is this? It is lung cancer, and because it spreads through the lymphatic system, it is now called carcinoma. You see that? Carcinoma. Anyway, lung cancer is part of those that actually spread through the lymphatic system. So lung cancer is part of the carcinomas. Pancreatic cancer, we tackled it. We said it also spreads through the lymphatic system. So it's part of the carcinomas. At least you know of the leukemia, which is the blood cancer and spreads through the blood, that we classified it under the connective tissue, and that is the sarcomas. There's another one that affects people who have HIV on the skin. It's called Kaposi sarcoma. Sarcoma means it spreads through what? Connective tissue, the blood. So once you understand those basics, you will not go wrong. Hautaenda wrong, hautaogopa. So lung cancer, we said, we classify these cancers into two. One, we say these ones are the ones that are highly, they have high incidence, so they occur so many times. Like they are the most common. So on the list of the most common cancers, number one is the breast and the prostate cancer. Number one of the most common cancers is actually breast and the prostate cancer. We will talk about it, I hope, next year. Number two, we have the lung cancer. So you see lung cancer is coming number two as the most common lung cancer. As the most common type of cancer, that is lung cancer. And then number three is the colorectal cancer. Now, when we go to the types of cancers that actually cause death, number one is the lung cancer. Do you now see why it is important for us to talk about the lung cancer? Because it is number one on the cancers, on the list of cancers that actually cause death. Lung cancer, number one. Number two is the breast now and the prostate cancer. So breast cancer has now been demoted from being the most common to being the number two on the ones that actually kill. Number three is the colorectal cancer. So colorectal cancer maintains at number three on both cases. And then the last one is the pancreatic cancer. Remember we talked about pancreatic cancer being number four, or a type of cancer that causes deaths. So that is what we call the morbidity. Okay? Ukishaelewa hivyo utajua the reason why we are talking about lung cancer tonight. Because it is actually number two on the most common cancers. And number one on the cancers that actually cause death. Is number one on that list. And why is it so? It's because lung cancer, the prognosis is very poor. Number two, it spreads very fast. And number three, a bigger percentage of lung cancers are secondary to other cancers. So it's what we call metastasis. So you have a different cancer. Let's say you have a colorectal cancer, and then it has actually spread into the lungs. And now we diagnose you of cancer, and we've ignored the colorectal cancer. We've ignored the breast cancer. We've ignored the high estrogen levels in women. So we diagnose you of lung cancer at stage 4, but lung cancer was secondary to breast cancer. Simply spreads from the breast to the lungs. Problems, right? So now you understand. That's how it's difficult. Now, the symptoms of these cancers, you know very well. if you have problems with the lungs, there's obstruction, there's feeling of fluid, and now we start wheezing. But most importantly, cough. And cough is a very general symptom. People who have TB, they will cough. People who have pneumonia, they will cough. People who have just inflammation of the bronchioles, the bronchitis, they will cough. People who have COPD, they will cough. So you see, cough is a general symptom. But I want you to know this, that when somebody is experiencing cough and shortness of breath, even asthma, they will experience this, right? But when somebody is experiencing a cough or difficulty in breathing, which you call the dyspnea. When I say dyspnea, people are like, the what, doctor? Shortness of breath. Don't go into many terms. When you have those two symptoms, the obvious ones, chances are high you're suffering from different conditions. And these conditions can be classified into 5 categories. 1, obstructive lung disease. So I'll tell you this, I'll read to you this so that you can actually understand. So when you have a cough or this persistent cough, leave alone the cough that lasts for about 3 to 5 days and is gone. There are coughs that will last for a long period of time. Right now, even the reflux disease, the GERD, is giving people a lot of cough. You'll see people waking up in the morning and they're busy clearing their throat every time. So if you constantly do that, it's time for you to go for a good checkup. That is number 1. Number 2, it's time for you to fix the gut, because that reflux is the one that is actually giving you that irritation here, and you're constantly having this morning cough. So go and rule out that, rule out other conditions, then start fixing the gut. Good. So 1 is obstructive lung disease. When you hear the word obstructive, it means there's something that is actually blocking the airflow or the airways. So which diseases are classified under this number 1 classification, which is obstructive lung disease? COPD. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. There is one condition that we talked about that causes you to snore at night, the obstructive sleep apnea. Oh, if you did not attend that live, you need to go and check that live on obstructive sleep apnea. Oh, guys, if you just take time to just go on my live section on YouTube and just go through the playlist on lives, you can never go wrong. They are long playlists, but they are so interesting, they are so detailed, and you learn something new. Anyway, we have also asthma. So we have COPD, we have obstructive sleep apnea, we have asthma, we have bronchoectasis. This bronchiectasis is one of the conditions that people get when they are young, and then they think it's asthma. And then when they get older, maybe 3 years and above, it disappears. Have you seen those people who say, oh, mimi unajua nilikuwa na asthma nikiwa mtoto na ikapotea? That is not asthma. If you're still eating the same foods, the wheat, the cereals, that is not asthma. That is bronchiectasis. So it comes in and then disappears when you're growing older. And then, of course, we have cystic fibrosis. So those are diseases that are classified under category 1. Category number 2 is what we call restrictive lung disease. Restrictive means you are unable to actually expand and relax the lungs easily. And under restrictive, CF is also there. The cystic fibrosis. When you hear the word fibrosis, just know it's a scar. So your lungs are forming scars. And therefore, scar makes the lungs have a hard time to expand, because a scar is a very hard thing. So it makes the lungs have a difficulty in expanding and contracting. We also have people who have inhaled dust. So now allergens and pollen are coming in here. So dust, we have also radiation therapy. When you're going for those screenings and the x-rays and you get exposed to those radiation, they can actually bring you restrictive lung disease. And then you have obesity. As you grow fat, you're restricting your lungs from actually helping you to breathe naturally. Number 3, we have the pulmonary vascular abnormality. Now, pulmonary means the lungs, vascular means the blood vessels, and then now abnormality. So we have abnormality in the blood vessels that actually supply the lungs. And remember, the lungs are highly vascularized. They have a lot of blood vessels. Why? Because this is where we have the gaseous exchange. We bring in oxygen into the blood and we bring out carbon dioxide. Because if you have buildup of carbon dioxide in blood, you will end up getting into what we call respiratory acidosis. So you must breathe the CO2 out to bring down the acids in the system. Okay? So under the pulmonary vascular abnormalities, of course, we have hypertension, the pulmonary hypertension. So we have hypertension, and then we have the one that is called pulmonary embolism. Emboli means either blood clot or just a globule of fat. So we have thrombi and we have emboli. Emboli are basically coming from these globules from fat and all that. And then embolies or thrombi are coming from blood clots. So these are what we call the pulmonary vascular abnormalities. And then infection. So when you have these conditions, of course, we expect you to cough. You can even cough blood. And then now infections, TB is there. You cough even blood. Pneumonia is there. Some of you are suffering from just inflammation of the bronchioles and you constantly say, niko na pneumonia. Unajua nilipigwa na baridi, ni pneumonia. Nilitembea kwa mvua, niko na pneumonia. Mvua ikuji na pneumonia. Pneumonia is an infection, my friend. You must get a diagnosis. So pneumonia is there, TB is there, bronchitis is there, and of course, lung abscesses. When you hear the word abscess, just know it is a fluid that is filled with pus. Abscess is a pus-filled a sac. It's a sac that has pus. Amazing. And then the last group, which is number 5, is what we are talking about tonight. These are the malignancies, the cancers of the lung. So when you have all these 5 conditions or 5 categories of conditions, coughing is part of it, shortness of breath is part of it, coughing blood is part of it. So you can't just say, because I coughed blood, I am now here. And even medicine, some medicines actually cause these problems. So you can't just jump and say, I have cancer, or you start getting the fear. Could it be cancer? Of course it could be cancer, but it's not necessarily that it's now cancer. So you need further tests, further examinations to actually get a surety. So this is those people keep saying, daktari, unajua nimecough damu. What could be the problem? You want a diagnosis online. I'm telling you, it's not possible. Drop that idea. Daktari, after I started these diets, I have coughed blood. I've coughed blood, daktari. Daktari, I have shortness of breath. At night, I'm struggling to breathe. What could be the problem? I mean, how can I even know the problem? I'm not a prophet. You must go for physical examination. You must go and give adequate history. And through that, you'll get a proper diagnosis. So on the cancers, the malignancies, we have the ones that are central and the ones that are peripheral. Central, you have a trachea that separates into 2 bronchioles that separate into small, very minor bronchioles, and then they spread into the alveoli. So when they are near the alveoli, that is peripheral. Peripheral is far from the center. And then central, from the bronchi, from the trachea to the bronchioles to the bronchi. That is central. But ikienda mbali sana huko ndani ya alveoli, hiyo tunaita peripheral. And these malignancies are the problem. And that's why we've chosen to speak about malignancies and cancer of the lungs.